Good Monday afternoon to you. Welcome to the Jon Sanchez Show on Newstalk 780 KOH. It's a pleasure to be with you and a pleasure to be joined by my brother as he does each and every Monday, Dr. Dennis Sanchez, the AI doctor. How you doing, bro?
I'm doing great. Monday is
Good.
absolutely my favorite day of the week.
Now, you just playing the psychological game because that's what your thesis is in, or do you really honestly mean that?
Well, it is whatever your reality is, whatever you believe it is, right? So
This is true.
I'm pushing. Yeah, it's looking good. So
Okay. I agree. It's all, how we perceive something, isn't
that's right.
it?
Absolutely. It's
I
great to be
love it.
here.
It is indeed. It is indeed. Happy New Year to you, by the way.
No, thank you. Even though we've talked, every day,
5,000 times.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Right. Once a day.
It just seemed like it went into overdrive right off the bat. Like
It
then
really
it's the
did.
6th or whatever the date is today.
Yeah. The 5th. Yeah. Oh, I know. Yeah. Before we know it, it'll be Christmas again. That's the way it always works. Absolutely. Alrighty, folks. Well, thanks so much for joining us. We do appreciate it. Let me tell you what we do have lined up for you this afternoon. Of course, we are going to be recapping this. I'll call it a historical day on the market, Dennis, because the Dow closed at a record level today. Much to everybody's surprise after the big news over the weekend, of course, of the situation in Venezuela with Mr. President Nicolas Maduro being
Presidente.
President El Presidente, that's right, and Maduro being taken by us over the weekend for charged today with narco terrorism in New York court, pleaded not guilty this afternoon. No surprise there. But, this thing could have gone any way, Dennis. It really could. When that news broke on Saturday, I thought to myself, well, this is going to obviously go one of two ways. Either investors are going to go, uh-oh, this is the beginning of major problems on an international basis, which of course can affect all markets worldwide. Or, and honestly, I thought that's what it was going to be honest with you. Or, of course, what it really happened, which the market went, hey, this is kind of a cool thing. Let's drive up the oil stocks. Let's even though we're going to supposedly have our hands on the largest oil reserve in the entire world, at least the way they're saying in the beginning. But we saw the oil stocks move significantly higher. We saw the oil service companies move higher because evidently, and I did not know this because no one's paying attention or was paying attention to Venezuela. Their infrastructure is the pits.
Mhm.
They've cannibalized one machine to keep another machine running, one ship to keep another ship running. Their oil pipelines are rusting, and so guess what? They're going to need a bunch of oil field service companies like the Halliburtons and the Schlumbergers and so on and so forth. So that just kind of fed on everything. On top of really this is the first day all the trading desks were full again, right?
Mhm.
Even last Friday, of course, many of the seasoned traders, they were still gone. And so it was kind of, as Jason calls it, kind of the amateur hour. And we dealt with that. The tax loss selling obviously ended on December 31st. So a lot of things that have been weighing on the market, really, we didn't have to worry about today. And so everybody came in and it was a very strong market right across the board, right out of the gate this morning. It wasn't all that good in the pre-market. So it really could have gone any way. Man, as soon as that opening bell rang, we just shot straight up. Now, our best level was 800 points in a little bit of change, 800 plus point gain on the Dow Jones Industrial Average. Didn't close there. Closed with a gain of 595, 1.23%. Nasdaq up 160.69%, and the S&P up 43 points or 0.64%. But again, it was a record close for the Dow Jones Industrial Average. So again, good all around day. We'll come back to what some of the big movers did today. But first, let me tell you what the two Sanchez brothers have in store for you today. I'm going to take you behind the scenes a little bit, and then you'll understand why we're so very excited to share with you what today's topic is all about. So, Dennis and I were just joking a moment ago about, how many times a day we talk. And I mean, it's 7 days a week, multiple times a day, because we have a lot of very similar passions. And again, we brought Dennis into Sanchez Gaunt Capital Management to help us institute AI. And when we did that, again, my eyes as the CEO were open. I know Jason's eyes as the COO were open as to what we were missing when it came to AI, right? The different things that Dennis has taught us and implemented within our firm. I felt like, I would not be doing my due diligence and my way that I've built you as my radio audience for 23, 24 years, whatever it's been now, without sharing with you how much it has changed, obviously for the better, what Dennis has taught us and implemented within our firm. So we fast forward many times throughout the last part of last year. We spent a lot of time with you on Mondays with Dennis talking about solopreneurship and familypreneurship. And again, this is the wave of the future. Well, Dennis and I decided to make a commitment to all of you that each and every Monday on the Jon Sanchez Show, after I get through the stock market recap, We are going to be focusing in on one primary area for 2026 with him, and that is entrepreneurship utilizing AI. Now, we're going to break this down throughout the year in two facets. One, how AI can help those of you that have a desire to start a new business in 2026. And then those of you that already have a business that you have not implemented AI and you have no idea, like a lot of people, how to do it, where to start, what it can do for you, how you can get a return on investment or ROI on it, all these different things. And we literally are starting to lay out, as of today, the calendar for all of 2026 for this. And we're going to be putting together some incredible things for you, such as some AI entrepreneurial kits that you'll be able to purchase from us to get going, because we don't want to make 2026 just a year where we talk about a lot of things. We want to make 2026 the year of implementation, because we live it, we eat it, we breathe it every single day. And I'll be, again, full disclosure, I spent 14 hours with AI Saturday and 12 hours with AI yesterday writing a business plan for a service that we're going to be announcing here soon. And that's about all I'm going to tell you with it. But it's saw, as I told Dennis this morning, what I was able to accomplish, and let's call it 26 hours of computer time with this business plan, writing processes for this new business that we're going to be launching to our clients and to all of you listeners. You know, Dennis, as I told you, I've written hundreds, if not thousands, of business plans over my career, 25 plus businesses I have behind me. And I'll tell you, what I was able to do in those 26 hours would have probably taken me 3, 4, 5 months, and not only longer, but more importantly, nowhere near the thoroughness of what AI was enabled me, you, Jason, and so on and so forth that are involved in this business. What it did, it was so thorough with, for example, the step by step of what our processes are. And this is where I really understood the value of AI, Dennis, over this weekend, were the processes that those of us, with a human brain, we can't think the way that a computer can when it comes to the nitty gritty of processes, where processes, as those of you will learn, processes are what make a business. I mean, plain and simple. If you don't have a process, all you basically done, if you've started a business, all you've done is you've really created a job for yourself. That's really all it is. Processes enable you to create a business that can run whether you are there or not, that it can grow whether you are there or not. It allows you to expand 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. So all of this, of course, is attributed to writing the plan, having the processes, and again, AI doing that. That's just one minute thing, very important, but one minute thing that we're going to be teaching all of you throughout 2026 with Dennis each and every Monday.
There's one point I want to make there, and that is, I'm kind of thinking back some of the things that we talked about over the weekend, all those processes and stuff like that. But what amazed me more than anything else were some very creative, unique ideas that came out of it that were creative, innovative.
Yes.
So it's not just going through the process like a machine.
No.
It's taking the recognition of patterns and processes to another level and coming up with creative things that, yeah, we could probably arrive at, but like you said, it could be never. I mean, it could be
Right,
that it would
right,
be, because
right.
it depends a lot on who's in part of that planning. But you think when you're doing that kind of planning, you've got a whole room full of really, 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 really smart, creative people that are solving
Exactly.
problems. So that's what amazed me. Some very creative ideas that came out of it.
Yeah, in this process side of it, it recommended two things. One, I kind of prompted it, but two, one was a process that it wants us to trademark, which I thoroughly agree, and we will. The other was a saying that I said, "Wait a minute here, Hermano." That's my nickname for my Chat GPT. I said, "Wait a minute here, Hermano. You just came up with something really, really good here that I think we need to implement into the plan." He said, "You know what, Hermano? You're right. Let's trademark it." Next thing I know, he went off on this whole tangent of how we're going to utilize it and trademark it and again implement it into our processes. I would have never in my all my years of business experience would have ever done that. But again, that's what AI is all about. And that's, Dennis, why we're so excited for 2026 to share this with so many of you, because again, for those of you that are existing business owners, we know how hard it is, right? You're working 14, 15, sometimes more hours per day. You're trying to keep your head above water. You're trying to grow your business. You're watching the financials. You're taking care of employees, paying vendors, and oh, by the way, trying to generate new business, right? It's way beyond the scope of so many people. And especially with technology, sure, it's improved us and it's enhanced our abilities, but also it's put more stress on the business owner, right? More is expected of you and of your employees. And I'm telling you, when you learn AI and what it can do and how it starts to get to know you and your business and so on and so forth, you're going to go, it's like you said, Dennis, this is like having another 10 employees that doesn't cost you anything, and probably better than 10 employees because of the way that it can think and so on and so forth. So, man, it is so excited. So what we're going to do today, when we're going to come back, hit the stock market real quick, and then we're going to get started. What we're going to do today is Dennis and I are just going to kind of, I guess we'll call it free form conversation it and talk about just some things that we've seen and how we have used it. And then starting next Monday, we will start getting down to the very specifics. And we're going to pick a show, for example, one week, how to use AI to create a budget for your business, how to use AI to create a marketing plan. As Bailey has jumped on here many times and said, look, AI can literally write your social media posts. I could do it. Well, she does it right as soon as the show's over. We use AI to write social media posts to send out to tell everybody, listen to the Jon Sanchez Show on Newstalk 780 KOH. Here's the social media post. It's all written for. I mean, literally in a matter of seconds, right? So it can help you on marketing. It can help you. You can literally scan in your financials, right? It's the beginning of the new year. You need to see how you did last year. What was good? What's bad? You literally could scan in your income statement and let AI analyze what you did right, what you did wrong. It'll point out, hey, you had some good strength here, you had some weakness there. You name it, AI can do it. And again, in business, we're all looking to save an extra hour here. We're looking to save money. We're looking to grow revenues and so on and so forth. And, again, Dennis, we're laying out a 52-week calendar, but it's going to be a challenge to even get it all in 52 weeks.
That's great. Well, let's get into it.
Yep, let's get into it. All right, let's go to break. Let's send it over to the wonderful Kristen Snow. And I agree with Jack Saban. No one does it better than this young lady does. Kristen, we try to do that only because we love you, and we mean it from the bottom of our hearts. Welcome back to the Jon Sanchez Show on Newstalk 780 KOH with my brother, Dr. Dennis Sanchez. All right, once again, a record-setting day for the Dow, closing at 48,977. That was a 595-point gain, 1.23%. NASDAQ rose 160.69% to close at 23,395. S&P up 44.64%, closing at 6,902. On the oil front, not any huge movement here today. 98-cent gain to 58.32 a barrel. Gold rose $123.10 to 4,452.10 an ounce, and down 2 basis points on the 10-year Treasury yield. This was the other area I should mention real quickly, bro, that I was concerned with over the weekend. We could add what we call a flight to quality, right? Incidences never seem to calm investors' nerves. So what do? They flock to the bond market. That obviously drives the yields the opposite direction. But yeah, we finished at 417, down 2 basis points on the 10-year. So it was really quiet. The only thing that I saw today, and I can't be 100% confident saying that the Venezuelan situation was the catalyst behind it, was this surge in gold prices, surge in silver prices, so on and so forth. There can be a lot of other factors. So we'll see if it settles down over these next few days. But we had some great momentum leading up to, towards the end of last week in the precious metals after a pretty good sell-off. So this is maybe, more of the same that we experienced towards the end of last year. Hard to tell, but bottom line, yeah, you made some money today if you gold a while back. There's no doubt about that. As I mentioned, again, this market could have gone either direction today because of the Venezuelan situation. The market viewed it as a positive. Man, we had some huge movements going on in a number of different areas. Let's hit the oil side real quickly. Again, the oil field service names, Halliburton rose $2.32, 7.84% gain. 92, Schlumberger, $3.60 gain, 8.96%. Again, among the top performers of the S&P 500 on speculation that, again, the U.S. could be involved in rebuilding the oil infrastructure within Venezuela. Valero Energy was another big mover, $15.26 gain, 9.23%. CNBC reported that the company is best equipped to refine the particularly sulfur-rich oil that Venezuela produces. Remember, different regions produce different types of oil. So Valero has this specialty in that area, so watch that one. Chevron was just a star today of the Dow, $7.97 gain, 5.11%, 163.87. So, we could see this trade in that oil producers, refiners, service, so on and so forth. We could see that continue for quite some time. So it'll be interesting. The banks were extremely strong. Goldman Sachs, another Dow component, $34.10 rise, 948.44. JP Morgan, Dow component up $8.56, 334.404. Coinbase was another strong one, 7.75% gain, up $18.39 after Goldman upgraded the stock. I mean, the list just goes. Tesla was a good one. It was just one of those days where you're like, man, this is the day. I'm sure glad we have money in the market, because if you're sitting out waiting to see how the start of the year occurred, and maybe you're sitting on a lot of cash, this was a tough day to miss. This was, again, pretty significant. Here we are to Dennis's point. What day are we? Well, we're January the 5th, right? Listen where we are already, folks. Russell 2000 up 2.7% year to date. Dow's already risen 1.9. S&P's up 0.8%, and NASDAQ is up 0.7%. So we're off to a very solid start. With that said, let's get about 3 or 4 minutes into our topic. Once again, AI and the future of small business, how entrepreneurs are going to make money in 2026. And we promise we are going to help you do that if you just follow our advice and listen to what we have to say, because we're starting to get some pretty good experience going on in AI. Dennis, let's kind of start things with some stats that you created in regards to the rapid increase in AI adoption, et cetera. So let's cover some industry stats before we go to break, and then we'll get into some specifics of how we use AI and where we are going to help our audience this year.
Well, of course, there's been a very positive trend for years, and it keeps going on. I've been watching the small, medium-sized businesses because they usually tail, of course, what's going on in the enterprises. And there are usually different solutions that they purchase because they don't have the same amount of money. But you see companies like Microsoft do a great job of having small business, medium-sized business type of packages and things that 300 employees right from your laptop. So you're seeing the rapid increase of adoption probably at a rate faster than enterprises. And that happens a lot in the SMB space because there aren't as many of them, and then they can make decisions more quickly. They don't have to go
SMB, folks, means small, medium business.
Sorry.
That's okay. Industry lingo.
So there's been a lot of adoption isn't just using the product, it's really putting it to use and sticking with it, and people using it all the time and even feeling like they can't live without it.
Well, yeah, I'm a prime example of that. I mean,
Yeah.
Come on, let's look at it. Before you joined us, that was who you were, right? You were dealing with cities and counties and states and so on and so forth. I mean, tell us real quickly how long that cycle was to get AI implemented versus what you did with Sanchez Gaunt Capital Management, and how quickly you got that implemented, right?
The difference really is that they're still trying to reach those kinds of rates. In fact, this year is a very pivotal year, a very defining year, whether on the enterprise level, they can adopt this technology as quickly. Just adopting it means they also are realizing their ROI. So it's a double-edged sword there. They got to adopt it before you achieve the ROI, and they got to get their money's worth out of the investment, which can happen much more quickly in smaller businesses.
When you dealt with these corporations, will they come back and measure the success or failure of AI adoption and go, this wasn't worth it, we're going to shut it down? We spent whatever, $1 billion or $100 million, whatever the number is. We're not getting the ROI, so we're going to cut it. I don't think businesses can make that decision anymore. I think they have to do it. They just got to figure out how to get ROI.
They wanted to figure that out at the beginning, but honestly, they're still struggling trying to figure out ways to measure it. And it's not just, of course, they jump to productivity and efficiency, kind of, the old days of scientific efficiency, and you can measure things like that. Yeah, and you can and they started by saying, hey, keep track on your computer. How long does it take for you to write an email, compared to using this technology? And employees said, forget that. I'm not going to do that. So they're still trying to figure that out. And I think that's one of the biggest problems. And there are other type of soft ROI achievement metrics that you can work with, such as if people are happier in their job because they're doing more of what they want, retention is higher. So that affects the bottom line, but they're not measuring stuff like that. So I think it's going to be SMB that's going to catch up really fast and maybe even adopt more quickly than.
Yep. I can see that. Well, and let's remember, folks, 3/4 of businesses, three quarters of employers in the U.S. are small businesses, not the government, right?
Yeah.
It's small, medium businesses that do it. Real quickly, let me hit some of these stats that Dennis created before we go to break. I don't have time to give you the sources. We can always give that to you. But AI use among small business surging from 39% in 2024 to 55% last year. It's a 41% year over year increase. A study of over 3,300 small, medium business leaders, SMB leaders, found that 75% are actively invested in AI, with more than a third having fully integrated AI into daily operations. And then, according to the US Census data, the share of small businesses using AI grew from 6.3% to 8.8% in just 6 months. Excuse me. While the adoption among large businesses stagnated, the gap is narrowing dramatically. Again, using the baseball analogy, I think small business, SMB, what are we in, Dennis? Maybe the first inning, maybe the
Yeah,
bottom of the first
yeah.
inning as far as adoption and use and really understanding what it can do for them.
And it's already over a majority are getting rolling up their sleeves and really starting to use AI. And there'll only be more as we move forward.
Absolutely. All right. So when we come back, we're going to talk to you just, personally, how we're using this, what we've learned, so on and so forth. So you can kind of take some cues off of what we've done right, what we've done wrong, utilizing AI in our various businesses. So we'll just kind of open up the kimono and share with you again how we use it in our firm and other businesses and so on and so forth. Joined, of course, by Dr. Dennis Sanchez, the AI doctor. Let's turn it over to Jack Sabin. He's got news, traffic, and weather. Hello, Jack. Back to the Jon Sanchez Show on News Talk 780 KOH, joined by my brother, Dr. Dennis Sanchez, the AI doctor. All right, well, 595 gain on the Dow, 160 rise on the Nasdaq, up 44 on the S&P. Again, a record close at a level of 48,977 on the Dow Jones Industrial Average. All right, we're going to get into the heart of our topic today, AI and the future of small business, how entrepreneurs will make money in 2026. We want you to join. And again, speaking of joining, if you just joined us, we made a commitment to one another, meaning Dennis and I, that for 2026, each and every Monday, we're going to be bringing you real life examples and ways for you to implement AI. If you are a business startup or you're thinking about starting a business, we're going to share with you all the things that we've learned. And then we'll alternate for those that have existing business, how, once again, you could implement AI into your business to make your business more profitable, stronger, faster, save you time, make you money, all the things that we're starting to experience. Dennis, before we get to the heart of our first point, which is really the early growth phase of bringing in AI, you were chatting with me off air during the break, and you said, you know what, bro, I want you to go back and give me another chance to answer the question you posed to me, which was the implementation of AI with enterprises, meaning large business versus small business, and why you liked dealing with that small business sector more than the enterprise side.
It starts with it's easier. Well, let's back up just a little bit and say you guys were ready for AI. Even though it wasn't really, you hadn't integrated it, you were ready for it. And that's a big part of it, having that right mindset of we're open to some ideas. Now, it took some time and showing and experience and stuff like that, but I am amazed at how you guys have embraced it. And now it's part of every conversation, but it demonstrates just how easy it is to do that. And once you find, you're really not going to try to find a solution that's going to boil the ocean for you overnight. But little things here and there start making a difference. Even if it's some of those things that we talked about the last week and stuff, if just as an app for helping you find recipes, the little things like that, you'll be open to more and more things. Where I think the sweet spot is, and this is what I hope we can really communicate this year, it's not just the technology. In fact, I would say if it's 80-20, that's the 20 part. It's the 80% of the value is coming from the people. And it's what you bring as a unique human being in collaboration with the technology where we get the best stuff. And that's exactly what you were doing over the weekend. It was you were asking the right questions. Now, maybe Hermano would have thought of those questions at some point, but he's following your lead a little bit.
He is,
So you
absolutely,
led him in the right
absolutely.
direction.
And it goes back to, I guess, that old computer saying that we all grew up with, which is, garbage in, garbage out, right?
Yeah.
And thanks to you, you've spent a lot of time teaching us the proper prompts, right? What to ask it. And what I love about it is, and again, I know you're more of a Copilot guy, I'm more of a Chat GPT. It's still the same. They're both basically the same, just different names.
Yeah.
It is because of the relationship. It sounds so crazy. The relationship I've developed with Harmano, my name for my AI. Can I call him a bot? Would that be a proper term?
No, I call him an agent more.
Agent.
Yeah,
Thank you.
that's a better.
Agent. My personal agent.
Yeah.
It is you don't have to know computer language to ask the
Yeah.
question. You literally, and you brought this up a few weeks ago. You literally just almost like a conversation. Here's what I need to accomplish. But the more specific you can be, the better off and the better answers and solutions it's going to provide for you. And I want to share another quick story that happened to me. Again, this was an AI revolution this weekend. I didn't get a chance to even tell you. Saturday, I'm sitting there working. I'm like 13 hours into this business plan. Started at like 4 o'clock in the morning. All of a sudden, I look out my window and driving down the ranch dirt road. Here comes my son and his beautiful wife and my beautiful grandchildren. Just a complete surprise. They arranged it as a surprise visit with my wife Megan. So they came in, and of course, I close up the laptop and doodle all over my beautiful grandchildren and stuff like that. So Brett, my son, is 30. What is he? 35, 36 now? 30, 35? Lose track, goes by so fast. Pretty, I mean, very smart guy, but pretty technology savvy. And he said, "What have you been doing all day, Pops?" And I said, "Yeah, I told him, been working on this business plan for this new business we're going to launch and so on and so forth." And I said, "Son, have you ever used AI, Chat GPT?" And he goes, "Just a little bit on my phone, nothing major." I said, "Come over here." So I opened up my laptop and I showed him. And Dennis, I wish I could have videotaped his reaction. And to show you folks how powerful this is, so Brett runs my ranch, right? So I said, "Ask it anything about raising cattle, Brett." And so he starts typing in, okay, what he starts off by saying, "Okay, so what is the maximum number of cattle we can put per acre on a rotational grazing program?" And it answers, and we knew the answer to that because we do that here, on the ranch, and it came back with the exact answer. But then it started to go further. Let's see, Brett, you're in the Northern Nevada high desert region, so therefore, this is the type of grass that you need to plant to do the rotational grazing on the most effective basis for your cattle. And just went in. I mean, he's just like, "Holy, you know what, Dad? Dad, I can't believe that." I mean, to see that excitement that someone that's never really experienced it. Then his wife is going to start a mobile notary business. And so that was the next thing. I said, "Okay, type it in that your wife wants to start a mobile notary business in Gardnerville, Nevada. Tell me how to start this." And folks, within 10 minutes at the most, if not 5 minutes, it had the business name. It had the geographical location. It told her how to market the business. It did a complete market study on the number of mobile notaries currently in the Carson Valley area. I mean, on and on. And it's the same thing with her. She's like, "Oh my God, I can't believe." I said, "See, guys, this is what I'm talking about. Literally in a matter of minutes, AI, if you ask it the right questions, will create a business for you. Advertising, every aspect of a business, it can do it for you. And you just sit back and go, oh my gosh, you want it? Like, so with me now, back to my situation and what you just said, when you get into more complicated things like really getting down to the nitty gritty of forming a business, you have to have an idea of what you want because
Hmm.
it will lead you down a lot of paths. And like Dennis and I were joking during the break, it will continue on forever. You literally have to say, "Okay, that's enough. Let's stop. Let's implement." And then, it'll say, "Okay, great idea, Romano," and so on and so forth. But Dennis, for those again, you and I live and eat and breathe it every single day, and I know some of our audience does also. But for those that have never used it, folks, it's literally as simple as download the free copy. Just go to your app store if you're going to do it on your phone, or just go on the internet. Get the free version of Chat GPT. Just to start with that, I don't care if you use Copilot or some of the other large language models that are out there, but just do Chat GPT. You get a free version and just play with it. And then, where you really will get the mileage out of it will be the whopping $20 a month version. And, then there's some enterprise level ones. But, Dennis, real quick before we go to break, I think one of the main things too, to your point of early growth, right? Automate the busy work. And I heard something about this. It's so funny you bring this up because I was watching a YouTube video on business startups over the weekend, and it said exactly that. It said where AI can really come into place is use it to automate any drudgery, any task that
Hmm.
is repetitive and
Hmm.
like I love your term, busy work. That's where AI really shines just in the beginning for a business owner.
Absolutely. And there's plenty of those, right? All we have to do is sit down, kind of going back to your point about processing. It really
Yeah.
helps to understand what the simplest processes are. If you just map it out and go, this is the point I really, really hate, that's the one I
Mhm.
would target. And I would go to ChatGPT and say, how can I save time at this point when I'm doing this? And you'll be really amazed at the types of things that, it will recommend. And now with agents being so common, free ones, that everybody, my goal is that everybody who listens to the show is creating their own agents by the end of the year, because it's that
Ooh,
easy.
I like that.
Yeah. Then it really makes, now it can actually work without you even talking to it or doing anything. And so,
Absolutely.
yeah.
And it'll get to the point where a lot of guys are already there. They already have their own agents that literally it will schedule their entire day and their entire life. They live and eat and breathe by it, right? But before we go to break, so we talked about automating the busy work with AI. So
Mhm.
you can use AI to handle things like invoicing, appointments, customer questions. My wife called a car dealership a couple of weeks ago, had an entire conversation with an AI agent to schedule an oil change on our Toyota Tacoma. I mean, she goes, most pleasant conversation I've ever had. And it lasted like 5 minutes, right? It's like, what do you need done? Oh, well, I need a tire rotation, oil change, on and on and on. You can use it for simple things like scheduling, emails. It will send out emails, right? Social media, as I went over before, and then understanding your customers and your competitors, something most business owners fail to do. They just don't have the time. Do a quick search. Hey, Hermano, go out there and tell me what's my competitor. Who are my competitors? What are they doing? What advantage do they have over what I'm doing right now? It'll do a market comparison for you. Anything you want to know, it's right there. It doesn't really cost you anything. All right, we'll continue on our discussion of how entrepreneurs are going to make money in 2026. Wait, let's wrap it up with Kristen Snow right now, Traffic Center. Hello, Kristen. We're back to the Jon Sanchez Show on Newstalk 780 KOH with my brother, Dr. Dennis Sanchez, the AI doctor. We've been talking about how entrepreneurs are going to make money in 2026, hopefully with our help, utilizing AI. I've been chatting this whole time. You fire off some questions or some things you're thinking about, because again, we're just kind of laying the groundwork for what we're going to be doing for all of you every Monday with Dennis. Again, implementing AI, teaching you ways to implement AI, either as a new business startup, thinking about a business, and then on the other side, if you already have an existing business.
So here's a different angle on all this. You described first of all, you did this for 8 hours. And I bet you that 8 hours,
No. 13 hours one day and
I'm sorry,
12
that
the other.
was
Yes.
13 hours. You were
Yes.
just absolutely had your full attention,
Immersed.
which is an event, an epic
Mhm.
event in itself, that you only focused on one thing for that amount of time. But there was something that was going on, between you and that experience, which kept it going, that made it really interesting. You said you felt almost like you were in the flow being where a moment where you lose all track of time, you're enjoying it.
Zone. Zone's a better
Zone.
word. I was
Okay.
in
The
the
flow.
zone.
It actually, those two words are used frequently, like interchangeably with athletes. I mean, the zone, that's exactly what they mean. So what was going on? What was feeding you and connecting with you so much that you felt like, I just want to keep going?
Well, first and foremost, I'm quite different, as you all know, in a lot of different ways. But I'm an entrepreneurial junkie, right? There's two things besides personal relationships and things. There's two things that float John's boat: the stock market and investing in our clients, and number two, business creation, formation, management, building, so on and so forth. Right. So this is one of my personal passions. I mean, I could talk business
Yeah.
24 hours a day because I love it so much, because it's the only thing in the world that you can do that you have control over. To the most part, you have unlimited income potential, and most importantly, what does for me is it creates personal satisfaction. So I am extremely, as my audience knows, Dennis, extremely passionate about small business. That's why I've created over 25 of them over my lifetime. The first one at age 18, and I'm 61 now, so factor all that in. But what it did for me was it allowed me to start with an idea in my mind how I think this business should run from a process standpoint. But it made me realize how dumb I really am, because what I basically had, as far as, let's just say, a 10-step process from account acquisition through the closing of the file, it produced 52 intricate steps that I never would have thought of, along with scripts of how you say this, how you say that. And so every time it does something where you have that V8 aha moment, right?
Hmm.
then you get excited about, like, oh my gosh, I turn over to my wife. I'm like, oh my God, Hermano just brought this great idea up. I'm like, look at this. And she's like, rolls her eyes like, okay, John, this is like the 20th time today. It's Sunday. Let me sit and, have my coffee. And, cause I start working on this thing at 4:00 in the morning. And so that to me, Dennis, to answer your question, it's like somebody reinforcing you. It's like having a group of professionals sitting next to you and you come up with that idea and everybody goes, yep, yeah, good job, John. So it feeds that ego and that motivation and it just keeps going. And then as it keeps, again, prompting you for more and more of things you've never thought of, you get done and you go, oh my God, I never thought about this before, but look at the end product.
So you had an emotional connection with the process and working with Hermano.
I can't tell you the last time I can't tell you the last time I've got in the zone of doing something.
Yeah.
I don't have a big attention span because my brain's always going a million different directions. This kept me in the zone all day. As you know, I called you a couple times to say, look at what we came across.
Let's talk about this more in the future because I
Absolutely.
don't want to lose sight of the human side, the human experiences.
no.
It's the combination of the two that's going to make a difference.
Yes, it is. That was a lot of fun. All right, folks,
Yeah.
get ready to buckle your seatbelt for 2026 each and every Monday with Dr. Dennis Sanchez. I am Jon Sanchez. God bless. We'll see you tomorrow on the Jon Sanchez Show. Have a great evening.
Have a great evening.
Jon Sanchez is a registered investment advisor, and the opinions expressed by Sanchez Gaunt Capital Management, LLC on this show are their own and do not reflect the opinions of News Talk 780 or its parent company, Cumulus Media. All statements and opinions expressed are based upon information considered reliable, although it should not be relied upon as such. Any statements or opinions are subject to change without notice. Information presented is for educational purposes only and does not intend to make an offer or solicitation for the sale or purchase of any specific securities, investments, or investment strategies. Investments involve risk and, unless otherwise stated, are not guaranteed. Information expressed does not take into account your specific situation or objectives and is not intended as recommendations appropriate for any individual. Listeners are encouraged to seek advice from a qualified tax, legal, or investment advisor to determine whether any information presented may be suitable for their specific situation. Past performance is not indicative of future performance.